in the last game. And you have to imagine his head coach would sign up for that right now.
All right, we're back on.
So here's a 1st and 10.
That is Carl.
Inside the 20.
Represented by counsel, Mr. Goff. You ready to proceed?
Shotgun snap to Allen. His defense very strong in that victory.
We certainly had a nice conversation with the defensive coordinator, didn't we? And what we heard, I like what we did, but we definitely need more pressure on the quarterback this week.
To throw again on 2nd down. Allen. And it's off the mark, incomplete.
They have to like what they've done defensively here at the outside.
Somebody keep driving the damn truck.
Incomplete passes bring up a 3rd and 10. Don't be surprised to bring a little pressure on this snap.
Crowd getting in it a bit already. Here's an early 3rd and 10. Here's Allen to throw it. Looking deep downfield. And that will be incomplete.
All right, let's get everybody in place. Let's go get started.
4th down. Here's Thomas Morstead on now to punt it away on 4th down. That'll be a 41-yard punt, 4 yards there on the return. And that will come the offense as they take over. So here are the Titans now for their first drive. They'll be led out by a first-round pick back in 2021 from Ohio State. It's Justin.
Beneficiaries of a first-round bye earned by a tremendous regular season. He'd been a little bit nicked up so he could use the rest, and I'm sure his teammates felt the exact same way. But now it'll be interesting to watch their first few drives in this one, because sometimes getting the rest is great, but sometimes you accumulate a little bit of rust as well. Maybe they come out flat, and they can't overcome the postseason.
That's a good way to start the drive. 17 yards and a first down.
This baby country is here.
Here's Fields. He's going deep for Brown. And this one almost intercepted. Not a good throw there. Nearly an opening drive INT. Ball on the 42 as they come up 2nd and 10. Out of the gun, Fields. And this is caught. It's Brown.
What's up, Big King?
But not before he's inside the 30. That's good for a first down.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We're saying we are ready to proceed with closing arguments. Mr. Goff.
I don't care who you put on him. He's going to be a handful in one-on-one.
When?
Yeah, right now you're right. They're in man-to-man. Maybe need some safety help.
I would say that'd be a good
When
idea.
did Roddy Bryan know
that
that McMichaels brought guns? When did Roddy Bryan know Travis McMichael would shoot Mr. Arbery? And at that point, what could Roddy Bryan have done to stop it? The inconvenient truth is that Roddy Bryan did not know and could not know that these men were armed until moments before Mr. Arbery's tragic death. He did not know and could not know that Arbery would be shot. And by that time, sadly, there was nothing Roddy Bryan could do to prevent this tragedy. Roddy Bryan didn't shoot anyone. At the time of the shooting, he was some distance back. He was armed only with his cell phone. Isn't it time, ladies and gentlemen, that we send Roddy Bryan?
Looked like a touchdown, but not to be, and now it's 4th down.
Roddy Bryan fully cooperated with the police. He's given several different statements. He's provided the now famous video that you've seen so many times. Roddy provided his cell phone multiple times. He signed all kinds of consent forms. He gives them access to his truck. He gives them the night owl videos from his house, the videos that had been overlooked in the canvassing of the neighborhood because he was down at the police station. He gives them his social media. He gives them his Facebook. Ladies and gentlemen, without Roddy Bryan, there is no case. You will have to decide what justice looks like between the McMichaels and Mr. Arbery, including McMichael from the Arbery family. But the reason that you can do so, the reason that we can have this trial, is because of Roddy Bryant. Roddy's decision to cooperate with law enforcement to help them discover the truth about the events of February 23rd, 2020, is not the product of slick lawyering. Roddy Bryant had no lawyer on the side of the road in the minutes after Ahmaud Arbery was shot. It was not some lawyer. It was Roddy Bryant, without any lawyer, without any help, without any assistance, making that decision on his own. Roddy Bryant made the choice. Roddy Bryant decided to invite Officer Minshew to sit with him in his truck, even before Roddy Bryant has a chance to look at the video himself. All this began without a lawyer. These actions, ladies and gentlemen, demonstrate good faith. His conduct negative any instance of criminal. Who is Roddy? Roddy never served his country like Travis did. Roddy never served his community like Greg did. Roddy is quiet. Roddy repairs small engines at the local hardware store. Roddy knows most of the English language, or so we believe. Roddy Bryant keeps to himself. His neighbors don't really even know who he is, even though he's lived in the neighborhood for 3 years. Roddy is not boastful or a braggart. He is not loud or boisterous. He is not an attention seeker. Roddy tries to avoid bad language. Not always successful. Roddy is respectful. He's an ordinary guy, a regular guy. Roddy Bryant is no vigilante. There's no evidence of that. Roddy isn't running around Priscilla Shores with guns, openly carry in broad daylight. He didn't even bother to report the theft of his own trailer. After all, it's just stuff. That's what insurance is for. The Amish are the same. If you take into your hands, you take into your heart. Roddy Bryant got himself. That's not intended as a comment upon anyone else, but that's just who Roddy is. What else does the evidence tell us about Roddy Bryant? Roddy Bryant, the smartest guy in the room? He like some kind of rocket scientist? In these interviews that Mr. Bryant gives to police, is there some clever wordplay, like Mr. Bryant is smarter than everybody else? Is that what the evidence suggests in this case? The evidence suggests that Roddy Bryant legitimately struggles to find the right words, that Roddy struggles at times to convey the meaning, the truth, behind those words. There is no evidence that he is a wordsmith. No evidence that Roddy was playing word games with law enforcement officers because they can't find the right words. The evidence in this case shows that context is key. If you honestly seek the truth here, which is your duty as jurors, if you listen carefully, you will see that what Roddy Bryant means, as opposed to simply hearing his actual words, it is clear that he never wished to hit Ahmaud Arbery. Why the prosecution felt it necessary to phrase the things the way they did in their opening statement, Mr. Nikoski will have to answer to you, Phil. I was unable to play it earlier, but we are now going to try and play an excerpt from the interview with Mr. Lauer, specifically that most damaging part of his statement, where he supposedly wishes that he had hit Ahmaud Arbery.
We talk about defenders, specifically linebackers, keeping their eyes in the right spot. He had that eye down the entire time.
And you know that's not easily done because they throw a lot of misdirection at you. They try and fool you.
You said that you had handprints on your truck when the guy was trying to get into it.
Figured that one out and made a really nice.
Yeah, I feel pretty sure that's what he was doing. I mean, I can't say for sure that he was up there. He was on the door and he was trying to get to the door. But after I angled him off the side of the road, you know, and I kind of went on past him, so I hit the key. So I you know, I probably got past him a little bit, and he's come up on me, and I can see him in my mirror, and he's going to the door. And I see his hands on me right behind the door.
It's fairly obvious, isn't it? He's got to start making better decisions with the ball.
Ladies and gentlemen, in the video, as opposed to the officer's testimony, you can see Mr. Bryant's demeanor. You can see his gestures and his mannerisms. And you can see that when he says that he wished he hit Mr. Arbery, he said that just after he says that he didn't hit him. And he's expressing regret because Mr. Arbery has died. And maybe if he hadn't gotten down where he was, he wouldn't have been shot. That is much, much different in context than to suggest that Roddy Bryant wished that he had hit Mr. Arbery. That's a reflection of regret that Mr. Arbery was hurt by the rifle. That's certainly not a suggestion that he for any ill will. And how many other instances of that do we have in this case? How many other times has the district attorney's office fired cheap shots at Roddy Bryant? How many times have the GBI taken cheap shots at Mr. Bryant? And in the end, you may wish to ask yourself why.
Instead, he was coated in Teflon and got away.
Yes. In the defense case, we didn't do it. We promised we would. But it's clear that Mr. Bryant did not wish to strike Mr. Arbery, that he never had any intention of hurting Mr. Arbery. He never said anything to the contrary. The evidence will show that he had no knowledge nor reason to believe that anyone else out there meant to hurt or shoot Mr. Arbery. If they had a secret intention or desire to do that, it could not be known to him. Now, there's another excerpt that I want to play from the Minshew video. Only one, okay? Because again, I think it shows you Mr. Bryant's demeanor. It has been suggested by the state that much of what Mr. Bryant says later is somehow an after-the-fact rationalization of what happened that day. But when you listen to this, I think you'll see that Mr. Bryant, the truth of what Mr. Bryant is trying to convey hasn't really changed.
So an early advantage now and a good one. 17-0 our scores. They kick this one away. Here's James. And he will make it to the 20-yard line and no further. The Bills come to the line to start their next drive. And following the interception, just any interception, are you a little bit more cautious when you start that next drive, or no, you just throw that out the window?
I think you are. I don't think that there's any way you can run back out there and go, totally didn't affect me. Let's just go ahead and be loose with the football again. You're going to take care of it, but you have to be careful about being too cautious because now you can't run any offense at all.
How they attack him here. They'll come up 2nd and 6 now from the 24. 17-0 our score.
You know, what did it look like he was trying to do? He was trying to get on this side of the car, right? What did it look like he was trying to do? What?
Yeah, I mean, I cut him off pretty good now. But he actually pulled your handle. You don't be surprised if that's what he's trying to do. Okay, trying to get the hand. Okay. Yeah.
Josh Allen, very athletic at 6'5", showing the versatility.
All right,
the first on the scramble.
Nobody got us on video. You just witnessed it. Right? I got it. You got it on video. You ready? Yes, sir.
At
what point did you start video?
Well, I thought you was going to play. Okay, so that was
you was trying to capture who he looked like.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, I probably got 2 videos, 3 videos. I mean, I probably started over here. I don't know what I got because half the time I was trying to drive.
Allen now looks to throw.
It was suggested that Roddy Bryant made up the idea that he was trying to preserve Mr. Arbery's identity, that he was trying to preserve it because he thought he was going to get away. It's been suggested that that's not what was going on. But yet, here, on the side of the road, with Officer Minshew, Roddy Bryant says within minutes of the shooting that that's exactly what he was trying to do. We have one video. in his head. So the shorter version of the one you've seen. But when Mr. Bryant is talking with Officer Minshew, he hasn't had a chance to look at his phone. He hasn't had a chance to see what he has. He thinks he has 2 or 3 videos. He thinks he's caught much more than he has. Now, either you believe that Roddy Bryant is the smartest person in this room, that he's playing games and manipulating the police from the moment this is happening, or you know that Roddy Bryant had good faith from the start, that he tried as best he could to help the police. Maybe it would have been better if he had been able to record more, if he knew better how to operate his phone. But the idea that somehow Mr. Bryant is quote-unquote minimizing his involvement in this case, had he recovered as much video as he thought he had, he might have had the whole thing in video. And he's giving it to the police. He's inviting Officer Minshew to sue him in the car, to look at it with him for the first time. Not with some slick Cobb County lawyer, by himself. That tells you that Roddy Bryant is not guilty. Because unless you think he's smarter than everybody else in this room, that he's smarter than all these police officers, that he's smarter than the cream of the crop, the creme de la creme of the GDI, then you know he's trying to tell you the truth. He just can't always find the words. And to hear again all this stuff about Mr. Bryant, about all these things that happened, we'll come back to that later. But when you look at the Lowry interview, when you look at Mr. Minshew, Minshew discussing the side of the road, you know what the truth is. Now, if I'm out of order, I'm sorry. But again, as I said before, the events of this day from Mr. Bryant's perspective are chaos. Mr. Bryant doesn't know what happened at the street of the English residence. He doesn't know Mr. Albenzi is out there. He doesn't know Mr. Albenzi's called 911. He assumes somebody's called 911 and he was correct, but he doesn't know. He doesn't know that Mr. Albenzi is armed and just up the street. Mr. Bryant is not in communication with anyone prior to the shooting. Not Mr. Albenzi, not Diego Perez, not Gregory or Travis McMichael. At times, as you've heard, Mr. Bryant feels like he's alone out there with Mr. Arbery, and it scares him. Roddy Bryant doesn't see any guns until moments before the shooting. We'll come back to that. I think, if I recall correctly, testimony was, although you can see, and you will see in a moment, Greg McMichael standing in the back of the pickup truck in the moments before the shooting, Mr. Bryant, on that day, doesn't even recall Gregory McMichael being in the back of the truck. He doesn't realize Gregory McMichael's in the back of the truck until later, until after.
Ah, fuck! That should have been a touchdown.
Roddy Bryant thinks that it takes the police several minutes to arrive on the scene, when we know it was mere seconds. Roddy gets so many basic facts wrong, so many key facts. Is it any surprise that months later he would struggle to solve details of what happened that day? When he couldn't recall big, obvious details right at the time it happened. Let me shift gears for a minute. Closing statement is sometimes referred to as closing argument. I'm not sure. I don't want to argue about people. First of all, the ball that you don't want to mean, you get the last word. Second, lawyers, we can remember things, frankly, sometimes the way we wanted them to do, the way we expected them to do. The people that it actually comes out. So my recollection is for you. I would trust your collective memory. And I'm not supposed to say this. Okay? We're all taught never to say this. But what we say as lawyers is not evidence. The evidence is what you heard. And if something I said doesn't ring true to you as what the evidence is, you don't have to wait for someone else to object. I don't want you to consider something if you don't remember it as the evidence. Now, before proceeding any further and before I forget, I do want to express my gratitude to Mr. Bryan, to the court, to my distinguished opposing counsel. As I walk through the front doors of our courthouse every day, I am reminded what an honor and absolute privilege it has been for you. What I'd like to do now is go back in time. I want to take you back, if you can join me, to the morning of February 23rd, 2020. It seems to me both so very far away and yet like it was yesterday. It was a time to which many of us might wish to return, if only we could turn back time. Ahmaud Arbery is still very much alive, perhaps still asleep. Some of us, like Rose Perez and her husband Diego, have gone off to church. Others read the Sunday paper. The politically minded may recall Bernie Sanders is the frontman for the Democrat nomination. The sports minded may recall that the Daytona 500 had been held a week earlier down the road. Donald Trump was the grand winner. And our local newspaper, the Brunswick News, covers school events celebrating Black History. You may recall COVID-19 is still a mystery. It's a China problem, and a timing problem. Some guy we've never heard of, Dr. Anthony Fauci, warns us that we should conserve the already dwindling supply of masks for first responders and for healthcare workers who most need them. But Roddy Bryan isn't reading the Sunday paper. Roddy Bryan is not in church. And he probably isn't paying much attention to the corona. Roddy Bryan is working on the front porch of his home. After renting for several years, Roddy and his fiancée have just purchased their home on Burford. As a small engine repair guy working at the local hardware store, this is a deal for Roddy. And he isn't going to waste any time before fixing it up. When you think back, it was a different world. But it's the world in which these events take place. And it's in that context that we have to look at the evidence in this case.
We'll get back to you guys in just a moment.
I think we have the first I call it the first night out video.
Final adjustments are underway in the locker rooms. Which of these two teams will survive?
Here you can see Roddy Bryan standing on his front porch, trying to repair a column. He is listening to music. The music is playing in the garage. The door is open. You've seen that from the previous picture. You'll see him in the truck out front. If you look carefully, I believe you can see his hammer on the ground behind him. And I believe other tools as well.
And I think a key for them is to put together some good, long, extended drives. Work the run a little more with that big offensive line. I'm not saying get away from it's still working, but they run it more effectively. They make it even bigger plays in the passing game.
6 yards on that last play. Here's 2nd and 4.
Better can't be choosers on that. Wait on this part.
From the gun, here's Fields. He completes it to Julio Jones.
This is the front of the Bryan residence. You have to add in Mr. Bryan on Porsche. You have to add in his pickup truck. In the driveway, lumber in the back. You have to imagine if you go music playing. Probably playing loud. This is here. It's not so good. Is there anything threatening or menacing about this picture? Is there anything threatening or menacing about this image? Or is this something we expect to see in the form of Rockwell? We talk about driveway decisions. Mr. Arbery has driveway decisions that he's making this morning. I'm not going back into all that stuff with the Englishes and Diego Perez and Matt Albenzi and Robert Rash. That's already been covered. And although Mr. Bryan may well have read about it on the Exit 29 page, he doesn't recall it, at least on this day.
and then additional pickup with his legs after the catch.
But Mr. Arbery is now running down the street, running from the English residence. He's passing house after house after house on a nice Sunday afternoon. Is there any evidence that Mr. Arbery sought help, sought assistance from anyone in that neighborhood after this? Maybe you heard it, I did. But as he comes up to Mr. Bryant's residence, he starts coming by his house. Why isn't Mr. Arbery asking for help? Why isn't he calling out, hey, somebody call 911. There's crazy people after me. Maybe that's because Mr. Arbery doesn't want help. Now, Mr. Bryan spots Mr. Arbery out of the corner of his eye. Roddy Bryan knows the joggers in the neighborhood. On his end of the neighborhood, let's be clear, it's a jogger, not Arbery. Roddy Bryan never seen Roddy Bryan intuitively, and that's the word for it, intuitively, knows the difference between someone running to something and someone running from something. But that mystery is resolved pretty quickly when the white pickup truck that he does. Now, Roddy Bryan doesn't know Travis McMichael. He would recognize Greg, but Greg McMichael is sitting on a car seat, probably with his head stuck up somewhere in the bed line. Roddy Bryan doesn't realize Greg McMichael's in this truck till after the tragic shooting.
Now James returning.
None of this came in at all before the jury, and we would object to anything about Roddy Bryan and knowing Greg McMichael or anything.
I'm pretty sure that he statistically said in one of the interviews that we went through that he didn't realize that McMichael was in the truck. But the jury knows what the evidence is, and their recollection can tell.
Let's stick to the evidence as it's presented to the panel.
Put your shoulder against the boulder and start pushing and try and get back to where you were to start the half.
At the time that Mr. Bryan gets out, he sees still Mr. Arbery in the truck. He sees them side by side. He cannot, because of the music, he really can't hear the words. I believe the testimony is he's basically reading the lips of what turns out to be Travis McMichael. He can't see Mr. Arbery's lips. He can't see what, if anything, he's saying. Mr. Bryan has told us repeatedly that he's never heard Mr. Arbery say anything from the beginning to the end. So at this point, it's clear that Mr. Arbery does not want help from Mr. Bryan. It's clear that he goes ahead and runs off. And at that point, Mr. Bryan has to make a decision. Now, there's been some testimony. I think Mr. Bryan said that he called out for them. He got it, which would be consistent with what he's seen on the road. But nobody else sees that we know of. We know another witness says that he didn't do it because they testified. And we're going to play a second night out video that we didn't play previously, where you see Mr. Bryan coming off his porch.
They all say the exact same thing. They're so fundamentally sound, it's hard to execute against them.
A nice return that time, gets 12 yards.
I'm going to suggest to you, you will have to decide what the truth is. So when Mr. Bryan says he called out to them, do you see that on any of these videos? Do you see them reporting to come? Again, is Mr. Bryan relating what actually happened or what he thinks has happened? Is Mr. Bryan's mind playing tricks on him? In any event, Mr. Arbery goes down the street.
And that's kind of how they judge you.
Bryan,
You take care of the ball,
at this point,
turn it
we're going to go to the
over,
next.
keep it in the proper hands, and give your team a chance to win.
That's what he's done here in this one so far.
No, sorry.
Throwing on third down, Fields.
Watch carefully.
Dancing to his left.
Mr. Bryan has said on some occasions he walked to the kitchen. On other occasions he said he ran to the kitchen. He said he walked back out to the truck. Another time he said he ran back out to the truck. So if you go from the video, it takes 13 seconds to get from the edge of the driveway into the kitchen to reach the keys and go back out to the truck. Mr. Bryan is in fact walking calmly to the kitchen and walking calmly to the truck. And his recollection of doing otherwise is faulty. Now, we also know, as Mr. Bryan pulls out, and by the way, we also know that he left his rifle in the house, left a hammer on the porch, and went out with his cell phone. Now here we see, when Mr. Bryan initially pulls out, Mr. Bryan is pointed to the right. Now he backs up. At the very end, he backs up and he straightens out a bit. Whether Mr. Bryan said he was going to the left or the center or slightly to the left, the actual evidence in the case is consistent with him pulling straight out. And again, we know
yes, I'm playing the computer.
we've seen
Hey,
Mr.
guys.
Bryan's recollection of events that day simply isn't accurate.
Oh, Huggy, I forgot to change the title. I'm not actually playing
Mr. Arbery,
He's scared.
Mr. Bryan makes what is for him a very fateful decision.
89 yards on the ground now for
He actually pulls out in the road. Now, at one point he says he overshot the road. At another point in the same interview with Detective Lowry, he says that he crept out onto the road.
Officially, it's a 1-yard loss.
The state suggests that Mr. Bryan either hit Mr. Arbery or tried to hit him and pushed him with his 5,000-pound motor vehicle.
Made it very difficult right there.
We'll come back to that in a second, but I just don't think there's, I think the evidence is consistent with that. Now, I do want to talk about the indictment for a minute.
26 yards.
Let's take a minute to review the indictment. It is what we sometimes call a kitchen sink indictment. Everyone, all three defendants are charged literally with everything in the indictment. Every crime set forth to them. You may find this confusing and difficult to sort through at times, since the factual bases and underlying legal bases for the 5 murder counts are so closely intertwined with one another. However, this is perfectly acceptable. There's nothing improper about it. Murder is murder. Each of the remaining 4 counts of the indictment, aggravated assault with a shotgun, aggravated assault with a motor vehicle or motor vehicles, false imprisonment, and attempted false imprisonment, actually serve as predicate felonies for the felony murder counts. In other words, this indictment does not allege any offense against any defendant other than murder and the predicate offenses for murder. A couple of legal principles I still obligated to go over in every case. One of those is reasonable doubt. And you've already heard several very capable lawyers go through that, so I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time there. Without belaboring the point, however, I would refer you to what I consider the core principles at the heart of the court's charge on reasonable doubt. A reasonable doubt means just what it says. It is the doubt of a fair-minded, impartial juror honestly seeking the truth. If you are a fair-minded, impartial juror honestly seeking the truth, and you've certainly given up every reason to believe that you are, look at the end of the evidence. You have a doubt. That is a doubt upon which you may acquit the defendant. A reasonable doubt is a doubt based on common sense. It is a doubt for which a reason can be given. If you can give a reason to doubt whether Mr. Bryan is guilty, then you mission to people. And at that point, you can acquit Mr. Bryan. I also often use this provision lifted from Robert Holt, A Man for All Seasons, when I talk about reasonable doubt, because I find it helpful. And let's be clear, it is not a statement law. It is the principle behind it. Some of you may be familiar with the play, and maybe some of you may not. William Roper asked for Thomas More, so now you give the devil the benefit of law. So Thomas More says, yeah, what did he do? Cut a great road through the law to get after the devil. Cut down every law in England to do that. So Thomas More replied, oh, and when the last law was down, and the devil turned round on you, where would you hide, Mercy? The law is all being flat. This country is planted thick with laws from coast to coast, man's laws, not God's. If you cut them down, and you're just a man to do it, do you really think you could stand upright in the winds that would blow then? Yes, I give the devil benefit of law, the Thomas More said, for my own safety's sake. When you apply a reasonable doubt standard, remember, that standard, that legal principle, isn't there for body law. It's not there for these other different. It's there for all of us. And it's a principle that we cannot force.
That's complete to his tight end,
The court's been charging, I believe, without trying to put words in his mouth, on parties to a crime. The provision that's relevant to Mr. Bryan in this case is the second one. To be a party to the crime, Mr. Bryan must intentionally help in the commission of an offense, of a crime. Mr. Bryan cannot be a party to a crime by accident. He can only be a party to the crime intentionally. We'll come back to that principle. Now, count one is murder. And I don't want to tread over the same ground that other counsel have tread, but the issues are somewhat different from this time. I hesitate even to respond to them, because by doing so, I don't want any of you to think for a moment that there's anything here even worthy of a reply. But I am required to do so. Roddy Bryan didn't shoot Mr. Arthur. He was armed only with a cell phone, and he was a good distance away when the shots rang out. Roddy did not cause, and could not cause, Mr. Arbery's death within the meaning of this statute. Roddy was not the shooter, so he cannot shoot Mr. Arbery unlawfully. Roddy did not shoot him at all. Roddy Bryan acted in good faith on the day in question. There is no evidence whatsoever of malice. And most importantly, I think that those arguments made by others, nor can Roddy be a party to the crime of malice murder, because there is no evidence that Roddy Bryan intentionally helped Travis McMichael murder Mr. Arbery. Where is that evidence? And that takes us back to the three questions I asked a moment ago when I first stood up. Roddy Bryan certainly was not aware of any intention on the part of Travis McMichael to shoot Mr. Arbery. I'm not saying he had that intention. You will have to decide what Travis McMichael did or did not do. But Roddy Bryan certainly was not aware of any such intention, and certainly could not be a party to the crime of malice murder, because he can't intentionally help commit a crime he doesn't know is underway, doesn't know is contemplated. At this point, we're going to try and go back and play the video again, the famous video. But I'm going to repeat the three questions that I started with. When did Roddy Bryan know that McMichael brought guns? When did Roddy Bryan know Travis McMichael would shoot Mr. Arbery? And at what point, at that point rather, what could Roddy Bryan do to stop it? You ready? I'm going to try and keep up with this. At 0.03 seconds into this video, Mr. Arbery turns around.
Not just in my playing career, but you and I working together, Have we ever heard a coach say, you know, I just don't have that play on my call sheet? And that's really what we had here. That was a big
what I want you to do is not so much look at the video, listen with your ears to the noises in the background, because they tell you what's really going on, even when what you see on the screen is unfair.
This motherfucker
At
threw a no.
0.04, you'll hear Roddy Ryan tap the brakes. He's still in drive. You'll see he's going at approximately 2 miles per hour.
The only matter to the statisticians is this ballgame is now officially over. So they stay alive in the NFL Conference Championship. And do you think that the printing press is trying to get those T-shirts in here?
On the field right away. And just think about the pressure for the players now. Families are going to be talking about tickets to the Super Bowl even before you play the conference championship game.
Get this video precise. Yes, we're looking for 4 seconds. We're looking for the speed on this phenomenon.
He's not still playing.
What you can see is that.
Hey, you gotta send me a friend request one time too, Urban, because I think I can screen share certain games with you and kick your ass.
You hear Mr. Bryan tap his brakes, but he's still in drive and he's going about 2 miles per hour, which is about the same speed that Mr. Arbery is moving. He's been described as chasing Mr. Arbery, as hunting, attempting to run Mr. Arbery down. But what you see on the video, and there is you can see that Mr. Bryan is moving at approximately 2 miles an hour, and you can see that the seatbelt is not in place. Now, at this point, we're going to go ahead and play it to about the 17-second mark. Listen for the gear shifts. I'm sorry, it's not there yet. Go ahead. You can see Mr. Bryan's foot is not on the gas pedal. Now, you hear a motor vehicle go by. We can guess which vehicle that is. But we hear it pass. And then at 20 seconds, we're going to hear the seatbelt alarm go off.